The list is endless. Here I am on my skincare journey. Join me on my quest to unclog this toilet. I call this my tire pressure checking odyssey.
Which of the following is true about the Madagascar giraffe weevil? A. They look totally different than the New Zealand giraffe weevil. B. They were worshipped by the ancient Ukawan Aliska tribe back as a symbol of dental hygiene. C. Giraffe beetle jambalaya is a delicacy sold by street vendors in Antisarbi. Or D. The 1992 hit by rapper MJ Abaga, Nothing But the G-Bug, was written about them.
I'm impressed by your knowledge of eyeshadow, Greta. Really, I am. Let's cut down on the chit chat, because if I lose my focus, I can give the word concealer a whole new meaning. They enjoyed a little profile boost during the Tipper Gore PMRC trials because their album cover for the first EP was shown as an example of depravity, along with other hedonistic artists like Def Leppard and Twisted Sister.
Pyromania. Burn a building. Burn, burn, burn. By the way, I'm up for re-election at the end of September.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
This may be an American phenomenon, but I've noticed we tend to gravitate toward the grizzled old codger character, don't we? You know the guy, gravelly voice, face carved out of an old saddle. He's fought several wars, countless bar fights, and maybe a zombie apocalypse. Quentin Jaws, Billy Bob Thornton and Landman, Dirty Harry.
This guy has fought cartels. He's driven cattle across the panhandle. He's overthrown governments. And he has zero patience for bullshit whatsoever. It's the gritty aesthetic that you can get from running an oil rig or fishing the deadliest catch in the North Atlantic.
But how many of you have heard of Frank Lilac? Late 50s, 6'3", takes his whiskey neat and doesn't do chit-chat. But Frank Lilac has forgotten more about interior design than any of us will ever know. He knows muted greens, wrote the book on soft corals, maximizes negative space like nobody else. Lilac has seen it all, and if you're lucky, you can get a bar stool next to him after hours and just absorb the wisdom.
And that's when I told her, you can keep the mahogany. I'll even let you slide on the terracotta hues, but brushed nickel fixtures, doll, that's a deal breaker. Then later the same night, so I took him out back and I pinned him up against the wall. I said, the gray backsplash and 2 love seats? You can't have Feng Shui and Vastu Shastra at the same time, clown. Look, don't fuck with me, all right? I hung tapestries for Eleanor Roosevelt. I picked out the wallpaper at Buckingham Palace. If I tell you the indented chandelier patterns are charming, you need to take me seriously.
Next up is Nuno Appleton. He's a Glock-carrying gold-toothed kingpin who would just as soon pistol whip your ass as look at you, especially if you call him Nuno, which he takes as a direct insult to his profession. See, Appleton is the most intense wedding planner in New York City, and he goes by the name Rings. You can find him on a street corner at any hour of the day, pacing back and forth, thundering away on his cell phone like he's running an international crime syndicate.
Yo, G, I told you the Wainwright house ain't gonna fly. Fool, you're trifling. You want to tell a woman with a 14-foot train she's got to go down 3 flights of stairs? I run a tight ceremony, motherfucker. But the real brutality comes when he deals with the vendors. Believe me, you want Rings in your corner during a negotiation.
No renegotiation, Luigi. Fuck that. Now you're going to include the alternating floral layers and the green hydrangea tiers, and no upcharge. Listen, I can make the calligraphy incident at the Tucson Golf Club seem like a walk in the park, so think it through, my brother.
And finally, there's Rouge. Real name, Ed Kirkpatrick. Forget Sephora, forget Ulta. A spa treatment in Rouge's salon makes them all look like lightweights. Customers know better than to question Rouge's work, because he's prone to little outbursts.
I'm impressed by your knowledge of eyeshadow, Greta. Really, I am. Let's cut down on the chit-chat, Because if I lose my focus, I can give the word concealer a whole new meaning.
But beneath it all, Rouge actually has a big heart when it matters most. Mrs. Brenner, I don't want to upset you, but we're going to need to have a little come to Jesus about moisturizers. He's pretty good at keeping us cool most of the time, but you're never really that far from an outburst. Like, are you trying to tell me my business, Colin? Because I was giving cucumber and collagen treatments in Quezon while you were still cruising the carpet in Pampers, fool. All right, want to talk about a feature interview?
Our feature interview this week is with Federico Costanz, the guitarist for the Italian psych metal band Desert Collider. We have a jolly chat that covers the band's to Federico's system of creating music, how they came to work with Small Stone Records, Italian movie soundtracks, bizarre astronaut stories, and much more. Stay tuned for that.
Okay, let's get it going. This is Floating Space Hand. Okay, let's talk about Patreon. The site is patreon.com/Snaggletooth podcast. And for $6.66 a month, you get an ATV with a big pink sissy paint on the side full of Mark and Stace.
Yes, for less than you will spend at Taco Bell, you can help keep the show going and also help the underground rock community that we choose to promote.
All right, going up this week, I've got two very big four adjacent book reviews, Gary Holt's book and Marty Friedman's book. Which one is better? You'll just have to log on to Patreon and see.
And don't forget to subscribe to this channel as well as follow us on Instagram. Whenever we do go to a show, which we have two in April.
Yes.
I live stream from it so you can catch a little glimpse. And also, if you miss it when I live stream, I always put the post up. Also, you can check in on some funny older shows that we have, and we always do little one-offs. So don't forget to follow us. It costs $0 to do that.
And speaking of things that are zero,
Oh, no.
I think it's time. Hit it.
And now it's time for Obnoxious Trivia!
Okay. I want all of us to be dumber after this. Okay. That was my goal. Obnoxious Trivia question number 1, episode 36. Here we go. Which character on the TV show MASH was quoted as saying, "Our motto is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happy hour"? Was it A, Colonel Henry Blake, B, BJ Honeycutt, C, Trapper John MD, or D, Hawkeye Pierce?
I'll go with Hawkeye Pierce.
You are right. Boy, right out of the blocks, I thought I'd fool you with that one, but no.
They were always in their tent with, I was like, where do they get martini glasses?
This was an episode about like a day at Rosa's, or Rosna's or whatever, Rosa's bar. And the whole episode is like they get stuck in the bar and there's like a shootout in the bar and they never stop drinking. They never stop drinking. Okay. Stace is 1-0. Look at that. Okay. Which of the following is true about the Madagascar giraffe weevil? A, they look totally different than the New Zealand giraffe weevil. B, they were worshipped by the ancient Ukawan Aliska tribe back as a symbol of dental hygiene. C, giraffe beetle jambalaya is a delicacy sold by street vendors in Antisarabi. Or D, the 1992 hit by rapper MJ Abaga, Nothing But the G-Bug, was written about them.
My God. The hell's a giraffe weevil? Some kind of beetle. I don't think that.
Oh, weevil and a beetle are different.
Yeah.
I don't know how they are.
Different? No. Dental hygiene. I don't think there's any dental hygiene idols. I'll go with the giraffe beetle jambalaya as a delicacy.
There is actually a New Zealand giraffe weevil. And I'll put pictures up on the screen. The Madagascar is bright red with a long black neck. And the one from New Zealand is all brown, looks nothing like it.
Wow.
So you got two different countries with fighting over the giraffe weevil. Okay, number 3. Which is the following is not a use of asbestos? A. Asbestos napkins in first century Rome. B. Asbestos tablecloths, 800 BC by King Charlemagne in France. C. Asbestos turbans worn by King Akbar in the third Mongol emperor of India in the 1600s. Or D. Asbestos purse owned by Ben Franklin in the 1700s.
I'll go with asbestos turbans aren't a thing.
Very good. You're on fire today. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I knew that. I remember when I did all that Ben Franklin trivia. I remember in his fashion. I remember his.
Well, see, they liked asbestos napkins in first century Rome because they cleaned them by throwing them in the fire, and they take them out of the fire, and they were fine. Never mind that everybody was getting cancer. Oh well, Okay, you're 2 and 1. All right, let's see. Can Stace go 3 for 4? Okay. Okay, number 4. What did the 21-year-old massage therapist Jasmine Tridevil do to scare men away back in 2014? She didn't want to date anymore. A. She had very dark eyebrows tattooed on her face. B. She had a third breast implanted. C. Grew very aggressive armpit hair. Or D. Got her nipples and clit pierced.
Well, I think B and D would be a turn on for some guys. So I'll go.
Not
with,
for me. I'm just saying.
Not for everyone, but remember how the guy with the Terminator movie was really turned on. The one where they went to Mars and she had 3 tits and some people were very turned on by it.
He's fantastic for 3 tests, yes.
Anyway. All right. I'll say she had very dark eyebrows tattooed on her face.
To go with your first instinct, it was third. She had a third breast implant. And I'll put a picture of her up. This is it. This is her with 3 tits. I think you're completely backfired because all men are going to be like, wow, 3? Total Recall, baby.
Totally
Yeah.
recall. And there was an American Horror Story, the carnival one, where the woman had 3 boobs. Remember?
More boobs, the better. Sorry, ma'am. You're not getting rid of us that easily. All right, this has been Obnoxious Trivia. I love to think about the 3 tits. So,
Just thought maybe that would be a turn on and that she wouldn't do that. But
anyway, okay. It's time for a Snaggletooth, and this one is called
Mark and Stace's Bogus Journey. Okay, latest in the social media psycho department. Have you noticed these days how everyone's going on a journey? Not a trip, not a vacation, a journey.
This conjures images of climbing Mount Everest or sailing the Riviera with an umbrella drink. Nope. Whole new kind of journey. I am on a weight loss journey. Fascinating. Forget Avatar. Forget the Super Bowl. I want to hear you chomping on a celery stick. This is entertainment. If only there was footage of someone I barely know on a treadmill with armpit stains in their shirt. Maybe someday.
Your journey may as well involve paddling to Australia, cause let's get real, by the time you get to day 5, your journey has detoured back into fat-ass jeans and trips to Arby's.
Remember the old days when people just got sick? Well, apparently not anymore. It's a health journey. I mean, Ben-Hur didn't have anything on this. Long, quiet walks down hospital hallways or arguing with insurance companies.
And then there's the adoption journey. Now that one at least makes sense. It's a real emotional road, but eventually we're back to watching paint dry. Day 47 of Mr. Frankenwhisker's adoption journey. He lets me pet him now, but he's still peeing on my husband's shoes. Rascal.
And my favorite is the employment journey. Employment journey, really? I always called that job seeking, and this is important. I kept it to myself. Now it's all online. Day 12 of my employment journey, resume builds. Trying to find the perfect synonym for administrate. Hey, my email address is slutshamer6665@hotmail. Is that HR friendly enough?
Visualizing the perfect commute. Hey, I'm so good with macros, I can build an Excel spreadsheet that operates the can opener. Wacky lunchtime fun.
Back in the day, that update would have been sent out resumes, ate Chef Boyardee for dinner. The word journey basically means I'm about to share this highly uninteresting situation on the internet that no one asked to see.
The list is endless. Here I am on my skincare journey. Join me on my quest to unclog this toilet. I call this my tire pressure checking odyssey. Again, we need to raise the bar. Everyone thinks their drive-through or oil change super drama is just what we've all been waiting for.
Day 3 of my hydration journey. Today I tried water versus liquid IV versus Gatorade, and the results will scramble your brains. Meanwhile, actual journeys used to involve danger. People crossed oceans, climbed mountains, took uncomfortable rides on mules, maybe got lost in a place where no one speaks their language. Back then, if someone told me they were on a journey, I expect at least a map, a compass, maybe a fedora and a bullwhip. Clearly, these people are none of the above. There was a time when travel updates were real.
Day 5. Someone lost the traveler's checks. Day 6. Gary ate something from a street cart and now we're all paying for it. Day 7. We lost Jill somewhere after the pub crawl.
These creators, they lose two things. One, my attention, and two, their self-esteem. Appalling is not a strong enough word. Let's play a song. This is Desert Collider with Sonic Carver. Okay, let's talk about Imperfect Foods.
And Perfect Foods is this wonderful grocery delivery service that ships right to your door. They even have frozen stuff now. It's very exciting.
What you made today was fantastic. The pasta and the garlic bread and the chicken. Amazing. And I know that you hot rodded it, but still.
Yeah, you can get Imperfect Produce was their initial thing, but they have so branched out after they joined Misfit Markets. They're together as one now. We have Gouda cheese up there. We have little snack cheeses, spicy cheeses. You can get eggs, milk, yogurt. You can get crazy stuff like ground lamb or the little chicken sticks that you like, the jalapeno chicken
They're really good.
sticks.
They're really good. The ones you get in the grocery store aren't nearly as good as them.
Yeah, they have some really interesting things on their roster. It does change all the time.
Please bring back the blue cheese puffs. Please. I implore you.
Yeah, we look for those all the time.
Sad but true.
And you can even get, stuff like seltzer. I got those great iced coffees from them, the little individual iced coffees. Really a lot of things that you won't find at your local grocery store because they shop all over the world
That's right.
and delivered right to your door.
Totally. Yep.
Use our link, it will save you off your first order.
Okay. Got a good one this week, folks. Really proud of this one. We're going to talk about the album from Impaler, If We Had Brains, We'd Be Dangerous, 1984. Now, I bought records for a variety of reasons in my youth. Whatever was on James Hetfield's t-shirts was a big inspiration. A cool ad in the back of Kerrang, a song we heard on Friday night videos. That was like the ghetto MTV because it didn't come to the city for a while, But in the case of Impaler, I bought it out of pure spite. See, here's what happened. I was record shopping on a weeknight with a couple of other metalheads.
Back then, if you picked up a couple of extra hours at work at the golf course, bowling alley, or a restaurant, it could be the difference between getting only one record or maybe 2 or 3. My 14-year-old brain was like a moth to the flame with this album cover. That gleaming steak knife logo, the outrageous finger-painted blood title, and above all, the dude in the straitjacket.
Not to mention the misspellings. It's like Slade, it's misspelled. It's fascinating.
The back cover looked like a low-rent take on early Slayer. Singer Bill Lindsay brandishing an axe, drummer Meaty Bob Johnson holding a decapitated head, and guitarist Michael James Toruck obscured by the smoke from his flaming guitar. Song titles like City in Chains and Witch Queen. What in the hell does this band sound like?
See, you couldn't listen to the albums ahead of time.
No.
You just had to go on faith. At this point, my buds had paid for their much safer selections, likely something like Hendrix or AC/DC. Upon seeing the record that I was holding in my hands, they started falling all over each other laughing. You're not actually going to buy that, are you, dude? Adding insult to injury. Usually we went for the used copies because they were half price. So you could get a couple for $4.99. This one was fully priced, 1985, $8.99. I was so mad. I remember going, fuck you, I won't. And I quickly took it up and paid for it.
The one thing that is kind of puzzling is with all the gore and over-the-top vibes of the cover, the huge produced by Bob Mold of Husker Du, which doesn't seem to fit at all. First of all, almost no metalhead knew who the fuck Bob Mold was back in the day. If we had to stick with someone from Minnesota, why not go for Prince? Well, he may have been a little busy at that point.
Dearly beloved. Sorry.
No idea what they were thinking. I mean, Chicago isn't that far. You could have tapped into everything from Master to Slouter Extroyas to Zaytrope and all that. But the funny thing is that Mold did a pretty good job producing this thing.
He did pretty good.
The drums sound fantastic, and it turns out Meaty Bob is all over the place with lots of cool giddy-ups and double bass workouts. Let's hear a little Impaler. This is Bloodbath.
Can I just say that I'm like sexually aroused that we're actually playing Impaler on YouTube? I think it's fantastic. Seriously. All right. Anyway, Puppet Master tears out of the blocks with lots of kick drum activity and chunky riffs reminiscent of early Raven. Musically, between Raven and Nasty Savage, I think that's kind of where these guys sit. And that's the best comparison. Heavy for sure, not exactly thrash, and his raspy voice does remind me of John Gallagher a little bit. City in Chains could actually be a Raven song, blasting off with double bass intro, highly reminiscent of something that Rob Wacko Hunter would have done back in the day. I love the wailing guitars in this one and the chorus, City in Chains, violence and pain, crucify my body and soul. And the howling lead that Torok uncorks in the back of this one is very cool. Very cool. I mean, the cover of the Stooges' Search and Destroy is cool and all, but I got to mention this. I still have the Important Records mail-in order list that came with the vinyl. Records and cassettes are $6.99. VHSs range from $25.98 to $31.98. Yeah, VHS we never could afford those. That was for the rich people, right? Oddly enough, shirts are $9 each. The same Metallica shirt, the metal up your ass, would cost you $50 today on Metallica's website. There's a note at the bottom. It's great. After September 1st, 1986, add $1 to the cost of each item because it didn't feel like reprinting the catalog, which is incredibly charming. Important also, they had a really strange roster on Important Records. For every Iron Angel and Abattoir album, there's a Leonard Skinner album, a Butthole Surfers, and weirdly, the entire Replacements catalog. Again, Minnesota, I guess. For all I know, Paul Westerberg was set up to produce the next Impaler album.
They're still cranking out records today, of which I only know this one, sadly. They enjoyed a little profile boost during the Tipper Gore PMRC trials because their album cover for the first EP was shown as an example of depravity, along with other hedonistic artists like Def Leppard and Twisted Sister.
Pyromania. Burn a building. Burn, burn, burn. By the way, I'm up for re-election at the end of September.
Plus, both of their two albums were shown on the vastly underrated 1986 Halloween flick Trick or Treat, which included Ozzy playing the role of TV evangelist.
I totally recommend that movie. Yeah, you got to watch it.
Let's play a clip. This is City in Chains.
Okay, want to share scene interview?
This is our interview with Desert Collider, who had already won their way into my heart with their heavy riffs and their squeaky synths and their sci-fi themes.
Yeah.
Don't see all that put together very often, and they really do it well. and I'm a Doom girl, they had me.
It's a great interview, and for some reason I keep bringing up Yes. I don't know why, but anyway, take it away.
So you are the guitarist and vocalist.
Guitarist and backing vocalist, and I
Okay,
play
okay.
some synth sometimes, you know.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's confusing because there's
Because we are two Federicos.
yes. So do you have to like come up with nicknames or just point and say, "Hey, you," or use last name?
Yeah, I mean, we are, you know, pretty capable of recognize each other when we see each other. And at the beginning, at the beginning we try to put something like Federico C and Federico G, but then it sounded a little bit like Spice Girls, and so it was a little bit complicated that. So we just wanted to, let's use our names and then, let's go with the flow. You know.
I can picture like years from now, the music critics will say their strongest was the two Federico period, you know.
Yeah.
So I am a big time Doom girl. Every year we have a fest in Maryland called Maryland Doom Fest that we trek out to Frederick for. It's about an hour from here. And I've listened to a lot of Doom because it used to be 3 days of it. They cut it down to 2 days for this year.
Right.
But I really love what you guys do. I can't believe this is the debut album for you guys, but because there are times when you're listening to a Doom band and it's so just heavy, heavy, heavy for so long. I'm like, okay, we got to take a break and go up the street for a minute. But I love what you guys do with putting in interludes, tempo changes. Every single song is interesting.
Thank you very much. Really
So,
appreciate to hear that.
That's definitely my takeaway from this album. In fact, I was just playing it while I was making us breakfast and stuff. And even the cats seemed to like it. So how did the crew of Desert Collider assemble in first place? And creatively speaking, is there a captain on this ship or is it a group effort?
I didn't get the second question, but I will try to, if there is a.
Is there a captain and how did you guys come together as a band? Is there a
Okay,
leader?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not like really a leader from that point of view. I mean, we try to do the effort of communicating all together. Let's say that I am the one that like composed the main thing and then bring it to the spot where we work on it. So let's say that I for this album I give like a lot of the inputs from my side, but it cannot work without the other people. It's something like I just bring riffs and materials, and then we all together we do a meeting of minds, and we start to work on it. So I mean, from that point of view, this is not like about the leadership and thing. It's just how it is. I try to bring the things organized because I was the one which was a little bit more experienced in this kind of genre. But everybody is getting along. Everybody's giving a very good and deep contribution to it, and that's why we managed to do this album. And apart from that first question, as we came together, let's say it was a work relationship actually. So we met while we were working in a research institute. And at the beginning, it was just me and the bass player, Manuel. We were playing very straightforward stoner rock. Sometimes we were having some, very Black Sabbathy kind of stuff. But we tried to assemble the band that was not yet called Desert Collider. So we basically tried to play with some people, but there was no chemistry. And so we had like to take a break. It was a complicated period. And then at a certain point, we met Federico, the other one, the vocalist. Yeah, that's like, he was like super enthusiastic about joining that. It was actually, he's coming from a different background, like more like punk and things like that. So it was also interesting to see him like bringing a genuine attitude for this kind of music, like that was totally not unexpected for us. And so yeah, I mean, we started to create things step by step. At the beginning, we were very, yeah, and then sorry, I just after we met with Federico, we started to play with some drummers again. was not exactly the what we were looking for, and so we met Andrea. There's a drummer that like was very enthusiastic, and he is like a 70, 80 hard rock guy. Hits the drum very hard. He gives like a lot of, this kind of for these heavy parts above all, and then it's like perfect. And it's also like able to give this kind of nuances of drumming that are very nice for us. And then, yeah, I mean, we started to play in a very, doing mostly 1000 modes style, Caius style stoner rock. And then we naturally felt like the urge of adding some of other, this kind of new, psychedelic part, clean part, changes in tempos, and so on and so forth. From my point of view, it was actually natural to bring this because I was part of some black metal projects like in Italy a long time ago, and we were basically doing 10 minutes track, doing these tempo changes, and so it was very natural for me to bring this. It was very natural for them to also bring the input and build all together this kind of thing. Because when you come from different backgrounds yet similar background, you can bring this kind of input and build something that is diverse and flowing in this kind of way.
And that was when I said to her, I said, lady, I don't think I can do 67 more of those. Oh, look. Okay.
Hey.
Okay. Well, anyway, I know that you came in for Desert Collider, but we wanted to just make sure that you understood that we do interviews like this every week. For example, our interview with Chris and Randolin from Aux, very popular interview. Also, a few weeks back, we did John Federoso of Blackwater Rising. And then, of course, one of my favorites, we had an epic chat with the Las Vegas stoner metal titans, Sonolith. You definitely are going to want to check them out.
If you go back in our back catalog, there's a lot you may have missed of really epic conversations. So go through, check it out, find stuff you like.
Subscribe to the channel. I'm not too proud to beg. Anyway, back to Desert Collider.
Whatever you're doing, it's working. I was actually so happy. I remembered the album was out this morning because I've had my copy from the PR person on an MP3
Yeah.
like it was 1990 with it shoved in my pocket and earphones. And so I thought, oh, I can just yell out and it can come through the home speakers now. I was so happy this morning. So it's great that it's
Oh,
out.
yeah, super happy.
What was the inspiration for Orphans from the Sky, this novel from 1941? And I love the
Yeah.
story. I'm a big literary buff, but I hadn't heard of it. About this
Mhm.
people who have been in the sky so long that Earth is like, oh, that was just a fairy tale they told. This is really
Exactly.
what existence is. Who kind of picked that out as a jumping point for this album?
So let's say that it was me and Federico that picked this idea out because we knew the book, both of us, and we were very intrigued by we love sci-fi novels, we love sci-fi movies, and this book, for my personal opinion, is one of my favorite sci-fi stories. Like it gave me it's a book with a lot of meanings and this atmosphere. The main character Hugh Holland, it's like amazing, like this kind of urge of discovery. So I mean, we were aligned from that point of view. We wanted just to I think I don't know if there are people that propose this kind of book in music way. Maybe I saw something. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, it was naturally for us. We wanted to go to build some sci-fi uh, story for the songs, and yeah, well, this book was. We love the book, and so we try to put it in a way, even because this book gives the thread of narrative of the whole album. So it's not a concept album, but most of the songs are based on the same kind of characters, different characters, but there is a kind of thread connecting them. Yeah.
How did you guys come to work with? We love Small Stone label. They have such impeccable taste in desert rock and stoner rock and that sort of thing. How did you guys come to work with them?
Well, actually, it was kind of straightforward. We recorded actually this album. I think it was in the spring of 2024, and we were constantly looking for a label. And when we sent the record to Scott Hamilton from Small Stone Records, he was actually very enthusiastic about the record. It was like we said like we are really enjoying what we are hearing, and so from there we started to start this kind of email exchange, even because it was amazing for us that Small Stone was interested in the record, and yeah, step by step with all different with all sometimes complex issues. For example, there was the vinyl that was too long, and then we solved with Cosmic Artifacts and so on and so forth. And at the end, we went for the signed contract and to produce the album together. And yeah, we're pretty happy about it.
Yeah, it's a great label for you guys. Yeah.
So where did the name Desert Collider come from? Because if you Google it, only you guys come up, which is a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Is it something
That's
from the
good.
book? Because I haven't read it yet. Although
No,
now I
no,
think I'm going to.
no, it's not from the book. So the name Desert Collider, it was like came out from a brainstorming session, long brainstorming session, like with the other guys, and while we were still playing very Stoner 101, and so desert vibes were there, but we wanted to add some other um, features that were a little bit more representative of the band, and so we started to. At the beginning, we thought about um, there is this particle accelerator that is abandoned in Texas. It's called the Desert Throne Project, something like that. And it gave us this kind of, we were, gave a little bit of desolation feelings that we wanted also to explore. We knew that we were going in that direction also a little bit. And so we started to brainstorm, and at a certain point, we realized that the second word, this, collider, was fitting very well because it's was coming, inspiration from there, but it's something that allows you to be symbolically transformative in your music, and so yeah, it was fitting very well, and that's how the name came up. Like
It
basic
reminds
stoner
me of
name.
like an old Atari game when I was growing up. Like, dude, did you play Desert Collider yet? It's awesome.
Yeah.
On your Bandcamp page, you mentioned that this was a long journey. How long was the album in the making, and what were kind of some of the ups and downs along the way?
Well, so the album itself, like the composition process of the album, was not exactly so so long. I mean, it was no, actually, it was something like 1 year that we were composing all the songs to, because you have to imagine that we had to deal with the change, the small change in direction that the tracks were heading towards. So it was a little bit complicated from that aspect, because we wanted to obtain a sound that was peculiar for us, but the songs at the beginning we started, as I said, like very stoner rock stuff, like very that direction like that, and then we started to appreciate how the elements, psychedelic elements, and were fitting together, but we wanted to allow this to make sense. We didn't want to create a record that was like patched up with different songs that do not fit together and stuff like that. We tried to do our effort to do that. Hope we succeeded, but and so yeah, so it was like one year that we were experimenting. We were um, meeting very often at that time, and yeah, I mean and then for this was like the first struggle was that starting to to create this kind of homogeneous thing, bringing all the backgrounds of all the other band members together. And then the recording process, I would not say that it was complicated. Actually, it was very straightforward. And when we went to record the album, the Stonebridge studio from Cesena, like Andrea Cola is a friend of Federico, the singer, and we went there. We had a blast of experience in recording this album. So it was not a struggle at all. Like the recording process was amazing. Like we good memories about it. Then we had, I mean, after we recorded the album, we were in this phase of, we have the album, how much should we wait? How can we do that? And so it was we put on Bandcamp only limited part of the tracks and was very frustrating. Also because some people were appreciating it, but they wanted the whole thing, but we were looking for labels, so we couldn't issue the whole thing. So it was a little bit complicated from this point of view. Fortunately, I mean, this waiting process paid at the end, so we're pretty happy with the result. So yeah.
Yeah, that was smart.
It's always
Very
this
smart, yeah.
moment when you know that your product is live, that you feel like you just gave birth to something and you're just waiting for the reaction of the
Exactly.
world. It's a crazy feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
I also love the cover art. It was again more desert from 40 days in the desert. So we got desert and desert and desert. Was that intentional?
The desert of 40 days in the desert. I mean, it's the artwork was actually no, there's not intentional about it. It was that uh, the artwork was actually based on the name, but from another angle, let's say, because you see we had this sit down with the Francesca Francesca Santini that created the artwork in front of imagine a beer with a lot of sketches working on what we wanted to do and stuff like that. But we wanted something that was reflecting the band feelings and the band names at the same time, and the album of course itself, because it doesn't have to be disconnected. So we came up with you, of course, Desert Planet. Yeah, right, yes.
Mm.
But we came up with this collider entity, let's say, that looks like a worm that has the collider, one of these, detector parts in front, like as a mouth. And we envisioned that like as a living thing because we wanted it to be really reflecting what we were going to do in the album and what we are trying to do as musicians. So something that is liminal, transformative, and there is the character in front of this worm that it's like looking at it and it's facing basically the unknown, and this is a reflection of the inner thoughts that you can find as a narrative in the album. Actually, there is the same unknown discovery and the same feeling of ad aspera per aspera that you have to endure, like for example in Orphan of the Sky, you Holland is doing this, is facing the unknown and doing the move to discover. So it's everything connected from that point of view. Don't know if I answer your question, but it's
Yeah. No, I think so.
Yeah, it got me thinking. I'm like, there aren't really deserts in Italy. And then I was thinking of
there
asking you
were,
if you were stranded in a desert, what would be your one survival item you would bring?
oh, a survival tool, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, first of all, there are few deserts in Italy. Yes, there is one in Sardinia, for example. So, um,
You're just not the sandy kind. They're still
no,
desert.
no, it's not forever. I mean, it is like there are dunes and things, but at a certain point you face the Mediterranean Sea, so it's not there exactly. Um, so a tool for survival. That's great question. I think, to be honest, if there will be like a situation like that, I will be the first person to die. I mean, so, I mean, I mean, I just saw Better Call Saul, and he drinks his own piss when he's
Oh
in the
my
desert.
God.
So so I don't know.
Yeah,
That was
Um,
such a brutal scene. I think that's what everybody's brain goes back to.
right. Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm afraid I have no clue about this that would make sense for you.
I love it. Um, I really like how you definitely channel that 90s energy. Are there some other surprising things that kind of influenced and shaped this album that might not appear on the surface?
Well, actually, yes. I mentioned it earlier. This is from my composition process. Um, uh, I think that from my perspective, from what I bring to the table as a musician, talking about myself, of course, it's not. Um, I've been very avid listener of black metal and atmospheric black metal. Like one of my favorite album is Bergtat from Ulver. So I mean, and you have all these acoustic breaks, tempo changes, and so on and so forth. The atmosphere, of course, in the other album is totally different, and it's not nothing related to that. But I think that my personal feeling of bringing these acoustic interludes and changes come from directly from that experience of listening. So I will say that composition wise is something that is hidden, but it's the same from the other people. I mean, it's a lot of yeah, sorry, my dog is scratching the door. Um, a lot of the background of the other musicians is coming into the place. Maybe it's not exactly obvious because, but it is there. So there are some bluesy part, and Manuel has come from has a lot of blues and rock blues background. Some punk parts, like from in the vocals and the drumming of Andrea is definitely bringing from there. But the thing about stoner rock and a bit psych and this kind is just that I think it's a very beautiful kind of music to funnel this kind of different experience if they make sense and they are not cheesy. I mean, from my point of view. So because it has like very deep historical root at the end. If you think about it, it's really apart from the desert scene in the 90s, everything is coming from, Sabbath, rock, psychedelic rock, and there is a natural evolution to that. And so it's the right kind of music that allows you to bring your background in, and that's why I think that you said it correctly. I mean, there are hidden things in composition wise in the album, but because this kind of music allow us to, funnel everything in.
Now that you say that, yeah, your interludes are kind of black metal.
Mhm.
I can see that
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
We also go to Maryland Death Fest every year, so we like both.
Yeah, we're very much into both. Yeah.
Um, I love the atmosphere you set with Orphans of the Sky Part 1 and 2. I like how it really shows when it's mostly instrumental how strong you guys are musically, and you just are.
Nice.
When you were putting those together with the little interludes, and I also like the spoken Italian part, although I have no idea what you're saying, but I love it. Um, did it come kind of like in a jam, or did you kind of piece things together as you went along?
So it depends on which part of Orphans of the Sky, if it's the part one or part two. Because in part two,
They're very
there is a
different.
lot of, yeah, part two, there is like, it's like jamming was a key part of it. Um, the clean interludes and then the part in which there is the synth that arrives before the main frame again, that were like all pure jamming experience. The first one is totally different. Is weirdly is the last track that we worked on for the composition wise, but it's a very old track for me because I brought the riff. So I composed the riff since like I was like I don't know, it was 2017, I guess, something like that. So it was a very old riff for me, but we put that together. It was like I had a little bit the idea in mind of how it had to go. And then from the second part, in which there is this break and it starts, as the spoken version, the spoken part, that was very jammy too. So it was a first part of the song is really structured, and the second part was, we had this riff, and we started to jam all together about it. And Federico decided to adapt and be inspired by a part of the book of Orphans of the Sky that is basically, we can say that it's mostly kind of a biblical part on the book is where there's a description of mm, let's say there was this like Captain Jordan that was like a long time ago the captain, and then it's like revered as a sacred entity and nobody knows about the thing. Is that this kind of a declamation that goes into that direction. And he decided to bring it in Italian, and I think it was a very wise choice to do that.
Yeah, they really work well, and like I said, it really shows off your strengths, and you can go fast, and then when it drips to a slow and then picks back up, it's just hypnotic. It's really, really good.
Thank you very much.
So the song, the riff in Thumper,
Arr.
yeah, it
Yes.
sounds like kind of like a rolling R through a wah pedal. Is what I guess why does Thumper have three R's at the end?
This is very, to be honest, like there is not a good question for that. Like it's pure Fu Manchu inspiration kind of
Okay.
style. It was fun to do that and put like the thumper. Some people like say that resemble like the bunny from Bambi, but it was not. It's the instrument to call the worms in Dune, as you know. But
Right.
yeah, we wanted to like give it like a more stoner aggressive thing, and so we put the three R's. There's unfortunately no deep meaning about it. So yeah, sorry.
What are kind of some of your favorite toys and pedals and things that or tuning that you use to get that such a fuzzy? It's like I think I said in my review it was fuzzier than peaches.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's say for what I use for the record, and it's actually my setup like during live shows. It's I'm a avid user of the Big Muff classical one from Electro-Harmonics, and then I just pair the RMC10 like real McCoy Wah from like after it, and then the rest it's I that's kind of a weird, but I love my stupid cheap delay analog pedal. It's very cheap, but I love it. I don't know why. So I use it since a long time. It's from Joyo, I think. It's like a green small pedal that is starting to give some issues lately, so I have to fix that. Anyway, yeah, that stuff, and then so I paired that with the Orange TH30 basically, and but in the record, you have a couple of amps that were recorded. Unfortunately, I do not recall the second one because this was a brainstorming with Andrea Cola, that is the producer, and we basically put in the same room the Orange TH30 separated by a soundproof wall, and we use a bass amp to record the same input of the guitar. So it's two amps, the Orange TH30 and the bass one, playing together to record that really heavy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
could
and
definitely vibrate a glass off a subwoofer for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
They were closed in a very like not tight room,
You
Otherwise.
mentioned you mentioned that you're a Fu Manchu kind of nerd. My favorite story about them is I remember they played the Warp Tour. I think it was like in the early 2000s, and it was all
Mhm.
these baby bands like Bowling for Soup, all these pop punk kind of bands. And I think Eddie Glass said in an interview he felt like the grandfather of the tour. because the age gap was so different between them and all these like
Yeah.
punk and skater bands.
So you're also talking about the first Fu Manchu formation when Eddie Glass was still there, you know?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Or was it Bob Balk? Who's the one that came later? Was it Bob Balk later or Eddie Glass?
Bob Balk after Eddie Glass. Eddie Glass
So
then moved
it
to
must have been
Nebula.
Balk who said it. That's who it was. It was Bob Balk who
Yeah,
said it.
yeah, okay.
That's right. Eddie Glass went on to Nebula, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
that's right.
the
Okay.
strong man, yeah.
That's right. 'Cause I had my Fu Manchu guitars backwards. Yeah. So
Well, a lot of bands, a lot of confusion sometimes.
yeah.
Me.
Mhm.
I noticed the track, which also was a good black metal name for the track, The Far Centurions Drifting Without Guidance Through Interstellar Space. God, if that isn't a black metal title.
Sure is.
It appears on the CD version, but not on the vinyl. Is that because of the vinyl didn't have enough room, or?
That's true. Yeah, that's something that we discussed at the beginning, also with Scott, for trying to think about a double vinyl, but for this debut album was a little bit complicated to do that. So there are issues about it, and so we had to basically make a decision for what tracks exclude from the vinyl version, because I mean the whole album was like more than 60 minutes, and unfortunately, because I say unfortunately because we particularly love this track, Pax Centaurus, but it's it's 14 minutes. I mean, we had already a 10 minutes track, Orphans of the Sky Part 2, that cannot be disassembled for Part 1, and Part 1 cannot be disassembled for Part 2. So, because otherwise it couldn't make sense. And at the end, we decided with like a tear in our eyes to not to
Yeah.
include Fax and Taurus for needs basically. But yeah, I mean, we're happy in both sections. It's just we love the track, and so personally speaking, was
It makes me think about like in the 70s when just the unbelievable creative freedom like a band like Yes must have had, because their first live album was 3 records. And it was just
exactly.
like to have that kind of popularity where you're like, no, we're not cutting down the 12-minute organ solo at all. Everything gets included or we're not doing it. And they put it out. They sold, millions of copies of that record. Yeah.
That's totally true. Yeah,
You
but I
know,
mean, it's actually at the end, it's something that I mean, we are living in different times, and mm, there are other, let's say, aspect to consider. So, I mean, it went like this. We never know that in the future we will be able to issue a double LP. You never know.
right.
I mean, it's yeah,
Yeah, it's you make the music and then you worry about formatting later. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I love your synth blips and inclusions. In fact, I'm the one who said they were like the Sesame Street guys as they go, yup, 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 yup.
Oh
yup."
yeah, yeah, yeah. We actually watched that on YouTube. Yeah.
The clip.
It's like my childhood all over again. Yeah, that's right.
I love your inclusion of those. They're so trippy. Are those layered in last, like a sonic garnish, or do you kind of include them in the mix as you're going?
Are you talking about the synthesizers in particular,
Yes, the
or in
little
general?
blips and the things that sound like a computer blip, or the yip
Ah,
yip guys.
yeah, these were actually later choice. Above all, like the strings were thought like in advance, like before, because we started to think about the synthesizer the more we compose the songs. But yeah, you're totally right. These little blimps that like you see in Orphans of the Sky Part 1, and then also in Fax and Towers in the break, where the bass solo, let's say. Uh, these things were added like in a second part, second moment, to recreate this kind of space vibes and space feelings
Yeah.
like that. It's
It's very
basically
effective. It really does
arpeggiators.
help.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's that was to create the whole atmosphere.
Yeah.
And nothing gets me more excited than a bass solo. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I love what they can do with it. In fact, this band, You're the Cobra, they don't even have guitar. They only have drums and bass.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was like, can this even work without guitar? But you would be amazed what this woman can do with a bass.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's really something.
So do you feel like this genre, that's something that has to be included, or is it just a lovely little part of it? Because, oh God, it always thrills me when I realize it's happening.
Uh, you mean what? The bass part or
To include at least one bass solo.
ah, it's something like, bass is an instrument that I love. Manuel is it's like totally for going to that. It's he loves to jam more than doing it. It's like that kind of person, that he really loves to jam to do the jams. And so, if let's say like this, that I would like to put it, like we would love to put all the bass solo whenever, but it must be needed. It must have sense in the song. If because it cannot be something. For our perspective, we do not compose in a way that we want to include whatever we comes into our head. It must have a sense in the whole thing. Sometimes we have like good ideas, but we do not include them because they ruin the thing for what we are trying to do. And so, bass solo, yes, we love that, but again, must be fitting in the thing, and that's why in fact Centaurus was fitting like that, because there was like this break. Let's say let's do a big psychedelic thing, and Manuel said, "Okay, I do the intro to the next part of the song," and so we conclude with a coda. Yeah, because we love codas. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah. I don't know why I keep coming back to Yes, but another Yes fact. Owner of a Lonely
Mhm.
Heart has a bass solo in it, and it cracked the top 5. So there's another
That's true.
example. No, the bass
Mamma
solo
mia.
stays in, and they got away with
Yeah.
it.
But that's like, yeah, exactly. But that's the whole supporting thing. Like without that, like the song,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah, that's an
so
accomplishment that you can say that you had
exactly,
a top 5 pop song and you were able to stick a bass solo in it.
exactly. Oh, that's crazy. Like,
I can't even imagine it. Yeah.
yeah.
I love the vocals with that kind of little echoing delay that kind of creates such a dreamlike feel. Is
Mhm.
that meant to kind of have the listener feel like they're floating in space, or is it more like, you can feel like it's a chemical refreshment without the chemical
Well,
refreshment
yeah.
type music?
This whole genre is like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted like this approach with the vocals is something that we wanted to the vocals to be, and this is pure, let's say, taste, because people sometimes they like vocals to be in front of the music, and instead we decided to have a like a level of effects and volume and equalization of the vocals that allows them to be in this kind of pace with the record, with all the other instruments. And the reason why we wanted to do that is exactly what you wanted to what you mentioned, that we wanted like the if you manage to do that, um, you it's like the whole instruments are guiding the listener from our perspective, like towards this kind of spacey vibes, and for all the what the records wants to give, this kind of moments of tensions and release and these kind of things. And so the setup of the vocals in that direction, I think, was the perfect fit for that.
There's definitely like a cinematic quality to your music. It made me think
Yeah,
of
thanks.
a great Italian band, Goblin, so there's an
Ah,
example there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
if only
Um,
we had the techniques of Goblin.
yeah. No, I mean,
That's
so
another level.
what are some soundtracks that that are your favorites that have influenced your music over the years?
Feel free to throw in some
Ooh,
Morricone.
what? What?
I said, feel
Apart
free to
from
throw
Sesame
in some
Street.
Morricone. I love
There's
him.
another one. Look at that. Okay. Yeah.
No, no, no. Soundtrack that influenced, let's say that in terms of vibes, one of the soundtrack that I love the most, and it's there is a very old I think it's from the 80s, kind of a documentary that is called Kowani Squatsi, I think it's called. And it's this means like in uh, what's good language for? Was like a old Mexican. I don't remember exactly means like life in constant motion or something like that. It's basically a documentary reflecting the fastness of life, and it's a lot of very strong images, and this has a very unique soundtrack. That is actually, if you see the movie Interstellar, for example, the soundtrack is clearly inspired by this movie. It's like there is a clear reference from Hans Zimmer, like there, it's there. And so, yeah, I would say that that kind of soundtrack mm, will be, yeah, the most if you're talking about movies.
Yeah.
Then apart from that, of course, I mean a lot of thing as you mentioned goblins. So I mean all the movies from Dario Argento in which goblins are there. I mean they are like Suspiria. The soundtrack is amazing. Uh, but yeah, I tend to love this kind of more sad psychedelic vibes, and so that movie, if you can catch it, like it will be a very good movie to see. Maybe a little bit boring sometimes, but it's no, because it's no words, it's just images with the music, just like that.
Yeah. It's
So
funny.
yeah.
Stace mentioned Ennio Morricone. I'm a huge fan, and I feel like
Sure.
I never feel like I have enough. Like I only have like 20 of his records. It doesn't even scratch the surface. He
The,
made
the guy
something
is a,
like
is a monster. Oh, the
300
guy's a
to some
monster, like,
soundtracks. Yeah, I mean,
huh?
the most probably one of the most prolific artists ever, just in terms of cranking
Exactly,
out.
man. The guy
Yeah,
is like top-notch level. Like you cannot reach him. Like so beautiful. Everything he does, like is gold. Like there's
yeah,
an
and
hands down for me. But,
it has his signature. You can tell, even if
yeah,
he uses all different musicians, but you can still tell it's his music just because of the vibe. Yeah, so I love when he does a gorgeous soundtrack to like some cheesy, like Night of the Living Lizard Woman or whatever, like some Italian
like,
B horror movie has this fantastic soundtrack, but it's like the movie
but
itself is
the
shit.
soundtracks are really important in the as an aspect in the movies. Even if the movies are not like the best movie ever, you put the right soundtrack, and then it can bewitch you. It's
Yeah, yeah.
for example, like even if I'm not like a super fan of this Terrifier movie, for example, no, this yeah, with
Terrifier, right?
clown
Okay.
heart, yeah. The soundtrack is like synthesizer. It's like Stranger Things. The
Right.
Yes.
soundtrack is
Okay.
amazing. Like it gets you there. If there's no soundtrack, yeah. At the end.
Yeah. That's interesting too, because I know nothing about video games. I've never played video games, since I was a child,
Mhm.
but I love video game soundtracks like Silent Hill and Mick
Yeah,
Gordon, and
exactly.
I don't need the game to
Exactly.
appreciate how great the soundtrack is. Yeah.
He's got a Doom shirt just because he likes the soundtrack.
From the soundtrack,
And
right?
people will try to talk to him about the game because he's got the
I
shirt,
don't
but
know
he's like, I
anything.
don't.
I don't know anything about it.
You guys could definitely do like
A video
a
game.
video game soundtrack. I
That's where
could
the real
see
money
that.
is.
Okay.
That's
Well,
retirement money right there. If you can get into that.
okay.
Yeah.
We'll get in touch with a programmer or something like that.
Yeah,
But,
exactly. Yeah.
it must be like an old style, like 2Ds, like that. Like no complicated things, like really like
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were talking about that baseball and floating space hand, but what in the world is a floating
Floating space
space
hand.
hand? Was that a working title or is that a reference to something?
Yeah, it was a reference from Federico wrote the lyrics of this song inspired by an episode of a TV show, sci-fi TV show. Um, I think it was inspired by an episode in uh, maybe Love, Death and Robots. I think I don't remember actually. Anyway, it's basically a symbolism of auto-mutilation, not in a carcass or Gorgat's way or stuff like that, but it's
Yeah.
no, it's basically a metaphor of giving up a part of yourself to proceed with your inner feeling and thought and inner discovery. That's a metaphor of that, basically. So yeah, in the space.
Stacy has sent me articles about astronauts in the past that think they see things in space, and
Mhm.
later that like this one, the one that somebody saw this the white
White
space snake,
snake.
a snake in space, and
Okay.
they determined that it's just debris, that was a hose, but it was going so quickly past him, and it freaked him out
Mhm.
so much that he swore it
And
was.
he even still, to this day, will say it might have been was. They just didn't brief us on the white space snakes.
Because there's so much debris that we've left up there that things
Yeah.
look like they're coming after you and they really aren't, you know?
Yeah,
And
that's
then
true.
there was
Yes.
this one astronaut, was it China? Japan.
Oh, it was
That
China.
they thought they could hear knocking,
Yeah.
but they couldn't
Hola.
really tell if something was trying to get out or in. And they've heard it on more than one occasion. And of course, they think it's just, the expansion and contractions of the ship.
Something
But
with the metal or
that's
something.
gotta freak you out.
Yeah.
You're in space and you hear something knock.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
deathly
man, like
quiet, and then
total
all of a sudden,
void.
yeah, you hear banging. Yeah,
Yeah, but I
freak me
mean,
out.
they are professionals, but they are still humans. So, sometimes,
Yeah,
it could be can be tricky. There should be like very complicated days up there, I think.
yeah. When we mentioned it on the show, we were saying that they probably locked up the first guy in a psych ward, and then
Mm.
when the other guys all heard the knocking too, they're like, okay, we can let him out. He's not crazy.
Yeah.
It's actually a thing, you know. Yeah.
Uh,
You never want to be the first one to report space knocking to the government.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or the guys, they
And look at
thought they were on the moon and they thought they heard music for one. And later on, they were discussing it. They're like, should we tell NASA? I don't know. They're going to think we're nuts.
Right. Yeah. Well, they'll lock us all away. Yeah, exactly.
Weird thing is, they said the moon
Smells like gunpowder.
gunpowder, but when they brought it back to Earth, there was no smell.
See, there's all
Yeah,
kinds of
it's weird.
concept albums in these
Yeah.
stories. You see,
Exactly.
like, yeah,
Sens
your next
like
3 albums are written
sensorial
now.
space feeling.
All right. Well, we play a game on the show. It's called Five Random Questions with Stace, which is me. So I have
Okay.
100 questions before me, but I just want you to pick 5 numbers, and that'll be 5 questions you will answer.
Okay, I will focus.
So pick out 5 numbers between 1 and 100.
Between 1 and 100.
Yes.
5 numbers. Okay,
Yeah.
so 60, 20, 48, 5, 71.
All right, we got it. Let's see what rabbit hole this takes us down. What would your dream home look like?
Pa, 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 pa. Kind of an old house in front of the sea, in front
Ah.
of like of a shore and stuff like that.
I love a beach home.
Yeah, that's nice.
20. If your dreams were broadcast on TV, would you want to watch them?
Not at all. They're too fucked up.
Yeah, we always say that. We can't ever dream any. Every dream I have, I'm lost and I can't get somewhere and my phone doesn't work and
Yeah.
I can't remember where I was and where the car is parked. It's always something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I remember dreams that are totally nonsense. They are just a match of things, and that I don't know why I wake up and I remember that. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Can't we ever dream we're at the ocean for
Yeah,
the day?
I remember the movie Inception. I was like, my dreams aren't like that. Who are these people? Like everything was so neat and clean, and everything. They could just distort reality slightly if they wanted to. I was like, oh, come on! I never have dreams like that.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
But maybe you will wake up at a certain point with a throttle spinning on the side of your bed, and then you will be like,
Spinning top. That's right. Yeah.
Right, and you let's see, 48. What's your this meeting could have been an email face? You ever had that where you're like, this meeting could have been an
no,
email?
I didn't get like. Can you repeat it? I need to understand this very, very well. What do you say?
When you have to go to a meeting at work and you're thinking the whole time, this could have just been an email, and you have to keep your
Okay.
face.
Mm. And I have to do this face. I think it will be like that. Like
Yeah.
the eyes that slowly realize stuff, and
Yeah.
Oh, I hate this.
Try to catch someone else's eye, and you're just like, "No,
Yeah.
what?" Anyway,
It's lunchtime.
yeah.
Number 5. What would your autobiography be titled?
My autobiography would be titled ooh mm, 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 mm. I didn't think about that. I didn't really ever think about any autobiography like that. Um,
I think mine would be What the Hell Is It This Time?
yeah. I don't want to say stuff like depressing things, so I'm trying to find something like a little bit more positive, about that.
I think mine would be, "It's not me, it's you."
Yeah, yeah, that's a great, like, with the arrow.
I always thought
Exactly,
Keith
yeah.
Richards cheated. He just calls his life. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
That was it?
Yeah.
Um, damn it, damn it, damn it. Mm,
Damn it,
okay.
damn it, damn it might work.
Okay, I have it. Be right back.
Ah, okay. That's a good one. Yeah. Succinct and short. Yeah. To the point.
Fun. If you had your own late night talk show, who's your first guest?
That's a good one.
Ooh, late night talk show. Let's say we'll potentially go for. I think that one of the very interesting talk show will be with, Blixa Bargeld from Einstürzende Neubauten. I think
Oh,
is
wow.
a very interesting, yeah, will
That's
be like
interesting.
interesting conversation with it. But it will be also like very complicated to build that because he's a very smart and clever guy, and then you have to be a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
Be like,
They kind of, that's a style of music that just doesn't sound like anybody else know about. And it's really,
Exactly. This is
yeah.
like their thing. Like there's nothing else like that.
You like you don't
It's
hear
amazing.
it's Neubauten-esque. Like that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, what does that
Yeah.
mean? Like it doesn't describe it enough. You have to hear it to understand it. Yeah.
now Burzum-esque I can get,
Burzum.
but
Burzum-y.
not that.
Burzum-y.
Burzum-y. Is
Yeah,
that
so
a thing?
yeah, is that a word? Yeah. Who knows? It is now. So yeah.
No, I'm not like in the late version things. Like I stop, I think, in Il Schiaff. I
I
don't
only
know
know that
that.
I only know I don't know any of the prison stuff he did. I don't know. But I did think it was actually kind of funny. The movie, what's the Lords of Chaos movie? The only
I didn't
comment he
see it yet.
had
Damn it.
the only comment he had was the actor was Jewish, really. Like he didn't like that the actor that played him was a Jew.
Okay.
That's like such a
Yeah,
perfect
I heard
Varg
about
thing to
it.
say. Yeah.
Exactly. That's like pure
Everything
Varg,
else
I
went
think.
everything he was okay with everything else except that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
But they are saying that since that movie came out, and they've actually gotten a lot of young fans in
yeah,
their shows
yeah. I heard
because
it.
of the movie.
I heard an interview with the guitar player,
Good.
the UK guitar player. They got this in the band now in Mayhem, and he said that he sees a lot more young people at the shows, and it's got to be because of the movie, So,
Okay.
which is really interesting.
Th-
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's interesting.
it's like a
Even though it's a little
whole
bit
other generation. Whether you like the movie or not, it still had a huge impact on
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
yeah, exactly.
the Stranger Things crowd, well, dug it. Yeah.
Okay, so you have a show coming up May in Cessna. When it comes to performing this songs live, do you need any backing tracks, or are there just ways that you can make everything happen?
So, at the beginning, we thought about some backing tracks because of the limitation of some our instruments, but then we decided that will contaminate our, let's say, vibes, and so we try to do our best to recreate the vibes of the album without any addition, backing track, and so on. I just play some loops by myself during the shows. For example, in Thumper, there's a part there are two guitars overlapping in the middle of the songs, and I do that with a looper. But apart from that, we try to do whatever we can, like to reproduce the thing in the album. But sometimes it's just not yet possible. We will get there because of, for example, sometimes we use pedals that are not feasible to be used in a live show because we use in Thumper optical theremin, to create this kind of intro for the synthesizer, like that. I cannot do, like I cannot block with a foot like into the dead ballerina thing. I cannot do that. But yeah, from other things, I mean, it is also true that compared to the record, in the record we have available some instruments that we used and we do not have them live. So, for example, the synthesizer that we use on live shows are not the same always that we use in the recording session, because in the recording session we use a very old vintage synthesizer that is like big, I don't know,
Yeah.
2 meters, I don't know. And I
Yeah,
mean, we
that's not
cannot
going
do
on
that.
tour. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
basically we are for the synthesizer we are using Korg, micro Korg, and doing like adaptation for that. So when we cannot do that, like reproduce the exact sounds in the album, we basically try to take a road to create the same vibe with other solutions, let's say. Yeah,
Do you have any pre-show rituals that's for Desert Collider?
Like warm
a
up.
beer.
What kind of beer?
It depends on the season, actually. If it's in
Ah,
summer, an IPA is very good. If it's in winter, I prefer a red ale. It depends. But yeah, we have this kind of ritual between the guys, like having like a glass of beers and drinking, like doing, let's do that. But in a way, not, let's say, with an empty stomach. Otherwise, you go to the live show and you're like, oh, what am I playing? Like, you're a little bit too happy for that. So, yeah. So
Yeah,
we,
you don't need that.
we drink to it and that's our stress release thing. Uh,
we love a good IPA. There's a local brewery here that makes ones with crazy names like Raging Bitch and The Truth. What are some of your favorites over there?
uh, let's say that from, uh, actually from like favorite, I would say that not from Italy, but like one of my favorite IPA that I have is from France. It is called, I don't know if it's from France actually. I drank it in France when I was living there. I don't remember if
Okay.
it's from France. We can check it out. Anyway, it's called Vedette, and I
Annette.
love it. It's one of the most, tasteful, because sometimes, there are IPAs that I like, but after a while I get tired of it. Instead, this one, it rocks.
Yeah.
From Italy, actually, that's a good question. I'm not able to sponsorize any microbrewery at this very
No.
moment.
Are there a lot of them? Because I mean, Italy is stereotypical,
Yeah.
and we always think of wine as opposed to beer, you know.
No, no, no. Actually, there was some years ago, like a lot of years ago, there was this guy that um, he founded this artisanal like microbrewery that is called the
Hmm.
Baladin or Baladin. I never know how to pronounce it. And he's the first one that introduced the concept that said, okay, we have, as you said, wine in Italy, et cetera, but also beer can have a place and can have, we can start, to beer tasting and, can have a value from that point of view. So it was the first guy that introduced this kind of thing in Italy. It was like a long time ago, I think at least 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. And then step by step, a lot of microbreweries started to pop up. And yeah, so there are a lot of microbreweries in Italy. A lot of them are like they can some of them they go also to the US to train or in England, stuff like that. So a lot of good stuff, even if I don't remember one single name because I'm like, I said like, nice can. And then like my hands covered the
Right.
I always love a good. I like a good Belgian too. Like my favorite
Yeah.
is La Fin de Monde from Canada, and
Okay. Never
it's it's
tasted it.
it's really good. But I don't like the ones in the bottles. It has to be in a can, or they make one that has a cork in the top of it, because otherwise it
Okay.
doesn't have that same effervescence. And of course, the liquor store by us used to carry it, and they have not in a while.
That's right. I haven't.
So
Yeah.
Great. No,
Yeah,
I never tasted it. Like, Belgian
yeah,
beer, by the way, are very good.
that's our splurge. State's got a raise type of beer.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? We'll spend a few extra dollars.
pricey. The 4 pack
Yeah.
of cans is what, $12?
Something like that. Yeah.
And the big one with the cork in the top, which pours you about 2 pints, is I think about $8,
Yeah.
$9.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
celebratory.
sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes I have like this moment in which I, start by like there is a liquor store close by that is specialized in beer, and I always go there and like pick like worldwide things, and then it's a little bit dangerous to bring them home, but it's
So thinking about what bands you love sharing a lineup with, and there that maybe we should check out.
I can say, okay, there is a band that I really like to play with that is called we played a live show I think last year, I don't remember, like October, but anyway, this band is called Godzilla Was Too Drunk to Destroy Tokyo, and like they are super fun guys, and they are so tight and brutal. They are like they do this kind of stoner rock, but with a very aggressive voice. The vocalist is like they have a female vocalist, Sarah. It's like they are super tight, and it's very fun to play with them.
That's cool.
From other fellow Italian musicians, for example, I would like to play with Mr. Bison is another great band from Italy. They play like psychedelic rock, psychedelic. Before it was most like more stoner rock and stuff like that. And then other bands, you know, those are I would like to play with the lowriders because I mean I talked with the guy. Apart they are amazing like live, but the guy is like super nice guy, and I think like you have a good time with that. Um, and yeah, I mean, and some I don't know. I have to expand the list.
No, I love the Italian rock scene. I think it's because your country didn't really have like a Bon Jovi or a Nickelback. I mean, you had Lacuna Coil,
Oh yeah,
and
that's true. A
you
long time,
had
yeah.
Death SS. I mean, so it's just
Oh
very,
yes, thank you
yeah.
for citing that as
So yeah, just very interesting. A lot of unique or like we said, Goblin. It's a very very unique and robust music scene and very different from other countries. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that's
we
true.
love
Yeah.
Harma with her Sick and
Thick and
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Yeah, they're a good band too. But one thing that's interesting is like when you talk to a band like that now, a band she owns she also owns a special effects company, and the band
Mhm.
they have all these elaborate costumes and things that light up
Yeah, they
and
dress up like they're Martians.
like sci-fi, right?
Okay,
So, but
okay.
it's kind of sad that they talk about as soon as when you ask them about the show, they make it clear that the good music is not enough anymore to make it as a band. It's just not enough.
I
Like
disagree.
well, Herma said that, not
Yeah.
me. But that's
You mean
how
in terms of
important the theater has become of you got to have a look and you got to have
yes,
yeah.
that's true. Before, like you said correctly, a lot of time ago, there were very few bands that had this kind of the
Image.
mask
Yeah.
thing and the image like that. Were very few. Yeah, now it's becoming like really a lot of bands are doing that. Most of them, I mean, they succeed. They have a good image, and I like that. But it's like a phenomenon that is increasing a lot, I think, compared to the past years. I think, yeah.
Well, we have decided that it's only in Europe and America that this is happening because we interviewed a band
Mm,
from Chile
okay,
and what were they called? Do you remember? They're
Mayhemic.
Mayhemic from
okay.
Chile, and they're fantastic. They sound like Pleasure to Kill era creator, basically. They're
Oh,
fantastic.
nice.
Yeah,
I
really,
will
really good.
point that out.
And they're
Okay.
young and hungry, right? Well, anyway, I brought this up about the what's sleep token syndrome about having to have a costume.
Midnight.
They didn't know what the hell I was talking about. They were like, no, we just have bullet belts. So apparently,
Okay.
it's always 1990 in Chile.
That's
That's just the way it is.
yeah. This is so refreshing. I mean,
Yeah.
not for
Yeah.
the. It's not that
No
I have
bullshit at
anything to
all.
do like
Yeah.
with it. I mean, it's just that when you say like this bullet thing is like reminds me of the very old stuff, and I'm a little bit of a nostalgic person, and so
Yeah.
yeah, I love all this kind of old distractions and old thingy Sodom stuff, that
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's
I
for
mean,
example when you see in Arch Enemy and then you see Angela goes over the time that we had like this bullet thing. It was yes, like so
yeah.
biased, so true. Let's say it was very nice for me. Anyway,
Well,
Well, this was great.
I'd sure love to catch you guys live one day. Maybe at some point we can get you over to the States
That'd
when
be great. Yeah.
that will be a dream. Like we will work on it. Like we have the commitment to do that at a certain point.
When you get your support slot for Lacuna Coil, we'll be there.
Exactly.
Falling on deaf ears.
I want it to be able to like, I wish I hadn't even watched that. Like that's my goal. I wanted to be like, oh God. I told myself I wouldn't watch this, but yet I couldn't look away. So anyway, okay, Deaf Ears 1.
This is Final Gasp, New Day Symptoms. I had to laugh when I first read the title of this album. My brain at first saw New Day, New Symptoms, which got me thinking there's always that one person at work that refuses to acknowledge that they are sick.
But it's so true.
You know the type. Somehow they've convinced themselves that they are far too vital to the organization to miss even one day of work and would much rather expose everyone to whatever nasty organism they're infected with.
Oh, Lord, why? It's not typically the higher ups who probably could get away with calling themselves essential. No, this is typically the assistant apple polish replenisher that's hacking and coughing in the lunchroom so violently you're expecting the alien creature to pop out of their stomach at any moment. Then a quiet dismissal. Allergies. Yeah, right. Whatever. Sure. Okay. 10 minutes later, they're sneezing 19 times in a row and blissfully unaware that half the office is angrily counting each sneeze in their head in the dread of catching whatever this is. They don't notice subtle clues like the 4 bottles of hand sanitizer left randomly on their desk. Because, damn it, I'm the only one that has the key to the laminator and this is my cross to bear.
In reality, the title is simply New Day Symptoms, the second full length from the 5-piece Boston death rock moniker Final Gasp. Appearing again on the legendary Relapse label and once again produced by Arthur Rizek, Power Trip, creator, Crip Sermon, the album offers all the pale skin goodies we came to love on their 2023 debut. Swooning harmonized guitars and dark brewed arpeggios from James Forsyth and Peter Mikavanik, pounding progressive thunder from Kevin Tank Ordway, and of course, that voice. Vocalist and third guitarist, April Wine, anyone? Jake Murphy continues to croon, scowl, and whoa in a style reminiscent of Bauhaus frontman Peter Murphy. I'm sure there's no relation.
One doesn't have to look too hard for the good stuff on this spinner. Look Away kicks off with a temper tantrum flurry of pounding from Ordway, and in no time, Merciful Fate adjacent guitar harmonies are swooning up against Murphy's pouting wails. The track is a good example of the songwriting style the band has harnessed, alternating metallic chug segments with oscillations, introspective and downright frowny. Here's a little bit of Look Away.
No Hand to Lead introduces an absolutely golden riff tone, strings ringing beautifully, and quickly introduces stacked vocal harmonies, making the whole thing rather reminiscent of Blue Oyster Cult, albeit with a much heavier drum style. So heavy and melancholy at the same time, like Robert Smith fronting a Type O tribute band of some kind.
The apparition explodes in typical octopus fashion, Ordway pounding his toms just a little harder than 4 out of 5 physicians would recommend. But this one spends a little more time in the chug territory as opposed to jangle burbia. The result is magnificent as the crunching riffs and the harmonies sound fantastic in this mid-pace ode to closed coffins and black candles. The track closes out with the slow but uber-infectious hypnotic guitar line and Murphy howling like a lovesick hyena. Very impressive. They're 2 for 2 at this point, so get over to finalgasp.bandcamp.com and grab the beautiful sea blue splatter vinyl copy of New Day Syndrome. Until next time, live and be well and cover your face when you sneeze, you weirdo. This is The Apparition. Okay, Differs too.
This is Abstracted. Hiraeth. When I saw the review choices this week and one of them was marked Prague, my immediate reaction was, well, like my reaction to decaf coffee or a sweet instead of a hot pepper. Just a lot of fluff and no real kick. I was never much into Rush, Yes, or Jethro Tull.
And on the small but potent glockenspiel, Mr. Barrymore Barlow, would you believe? Apparently I was.
I don't hate Prague. It just doesn't have enough teeth to really grab and hold my attention. But about halfway through the first track of Hiraeth, it became clear this isn't boring vanilla Prague. This is more like cherry chocolate pistachio spumoni. For Brazil's Abstracted, the second full length from the Sao Paulo Sextet, plus a couple of guest collaborators, delivers an album that blends more musical styles than my previous Everything But the Kitchen Sink award winner, Unprocessed. Hiraeth ricochets between clean vocals, deep growls, gent riffing, black metal guitar bursts that twitch and oscillate up and down the fretboard, and the occasional moment where the band suddenly sounds like you just wandered into a dimly lit jazz lounge. So you may as well order a martini.
A sextet is what she is. You guys are the ones that got beat up at the homecoming game, right? Proggy synths drift across the album like cosmic dust, tying together a sound that feels both technical and philosophical. We get 7 roomy tracks, most in the proggy 5 to 7 minute range, and 2 that flow over the 9-minute mark. Hiraeth is a concept album centered around the redemption and self-knowledge, drawing inspiration from all things esoteric. I used to work at a restaurant where we had this walnut, apple, and blue cheese salad. It was fantastic. It was the tartness of the apple, the nuttiness of the walnut, and the creamy bite of the cheese laid over a simple lettuce backdrop. All those flavors worked off each other to create this magic. That's exactly how a track like Sirens comes together. The drone of a synth tone is soon swarmed by a barrage of guitar harmonies from Jose Casani and Leonardo Brito that go off like two-tone siren. Fernando Palan is all over the kit with some Pert-esque fills and rolls that push the song forward. The tempo shifts like steam moving from a calm pool into rapids, but it's always flowing.
The first motif that resurfaces later appears in the form of a darting synth pulse from Carol Lynn, keeping tension simmering beneath the mix of drum spackles and guitar squiggles. The vocals of Rosanio Pedro Mattiusi arrive as a bright baritone, smooth and expressive, sounding like he's giving that last molecule of breath to the melody. Then Mattiusi flips the switch and unleashes some abysmal vocal fry. Gravel. A brief drum breakout signals another tempo shift. That taut synth line begins to blip like an old Atari game, where the guitars seem to slip into their own time signature with loose, jazzy strums. Later, Riverton Alves plucks out a snarky little bass solo that burbles up like someone just struck a vein of Texas tea, soon joined by rat-a-tat drum bursts. A distorted riff hangs alone for a moment, signaling yet another turn. This time the growled vocals surge back alongside black metal style guitar notes that lurch upwards at the ends like a question mark. The mood shifts once more as guitar notes tumble out over shimmery synth bed, slow drum rolls rumbling underneath while voices murmur somewhere deep in the background of the mix until everything slowly fades into a single, lingering hum.
Another album highlight is To Quench This Insatiable Thirst. The track opens with guitars spitting quick, atonal notes like sparks off a grinding wheel. Carol Lynn's darting synths mirror the tension and ramp up the sense of urgency. Mattiusi's vocals are caustic, with guest Igor Bolos throwing in his 2 cents as well. From the lyrics, ceaseless destroyer of broken ambitions, defiler of the innocent, maniacal desires acting out of instinct. Whatever this thirst is, this track is chasing, it is definitely not reaching for a sports drink. Fernando Polan's drums share the fevered pace, rolling out quick fills between verses. Hard pan trade-offs between the guitar riffs and kick drum smacks tee off the clean vocals, which hold long notes while always pushing for just a little more as the guitars keep twitching nervously. Around the midpoint, the drums slow to a steadier mid-pace, keeping time like a ticking second hand. Suddenly, the guitar tone brightens and mellows, spilling out little clusters of tumbling notes that grow increasingly complex. The drums turn jazzy with loose rolls and frequent cymbal ticks. The guitar lines begin to weep and chatter before bunching together into chiming harmonies that peel away into a wiry solo that leaps, noodles, and whines while restlessly accelerating. Then we dive back into the black metal formation again, layered vocals seething and spitting before clean vocals return to stack up over the chorus. Let's hear a little of To Quench This Insatiable Thirst.
I think my favorite track is The Barren Grave of God, which obviously belongs right between the Hokey Pokey and the Pin the Tail on the Donkey on your next party playlist.
That's a true story, yeah.
The track opens with Carol Lynn's 80s style synths bouncing around like a pinball machine, blipping as you keep deftly hitting the bumpers while narrowly avoiding the gobble hole. Guitar notes from Jose Cosani and Leonardo Brito flit around like flashing arcade lights, while Fernando Polan's drums wave out quick rolls before settling into an up-tempo trot that kisses in and out of blast beats. The guitars fire off quick, short riff bursts that are just a little left of dead center. Mattiusi begins with a raspy, cupped, choppy delivery that sounds like a bull gearing up to charge. Then the vocal personality starts shifting, flowing from a silky baritone one moment to a feral snarl the next, sometimes overlapping like watching a Jekyll and Hyde transformation. A section features 2 harmonized voices that simply soar, like birds rising and falling on the same ocean breeze. Suddenly, everything drops out except for Riverton Alva's bass, which lays down a filthy groove that sounds about 2 beers into the night. Soon, Pollen joins with kick drum cracks that begin like the first few raindrops of a storm, sparse at first, then coming faster and faster, while the guitars keep hammering out tight, rough, clipped chords. Now the snarling beast of vocal returns in layered pairs. One of my favorite moments comes when both guitars start ripping out their own short riffed ideas, while the bass noodles around independently with some rubber band man thick funk. As if inspired by the chaos, the guitar launches into a solo with more noodles than your grandma's baked ziti. Near the end of the track, Mattiusi delivers an impassioned clean vocal passage, holding notes for longer than I can hold my breath underwater, until everything drops away and he delivers the final lines a cappella, holding onto the I as if it's a life raft. I stand alone in the mountains of solitude, and that moment will absolutely send chills down your spine in the best way possible.
So perhaps extreme progressive metal is my new rabbit hole, and I can't wait to dive down into it. Want to add another layer to this onion? The album title itself is a nod to the Welsh notion of Hiraeth, a deep longing for something lost or distant, something like homesickness for a place you can't quite return to. Click your heels 3 times. There's no place like Welsh by way of Brazil. At first, I thought slapping a prog label on this album was like calling a filet mignon simply meat. Technically correct, sure, but it doesn't really tell the whole story. To be fair, progressive music is defined by complex compositions, extended song structures, and a love of artistic experimentation. Check all those boxes, and these guys absolutely merge styles. They merge them like they're on the Autobahn. Turns out prog can have teeth after all, and this one draws blood. Let's play a clip.
This is the barren grave of God.
Okay, Death Race 3 is the new album from Cruel Force, Haneda. This week, whenever I wasn't headwagging to this arresting little slab of black and German thrash, I was thinking to myself, well, what actually is a cruel force? It took me a while, but I did come up with a few cruel forces that we somehow have just learned to live with.
Red light cameras. The invention of the red light cameras did two things: make school zones a little safer and, most importantly, generate money for the county government. Once politicians saw the fines pouring in from these wicked little devices, they began installing them all over the place. Used to be a time when you could get home from a show at 2 a.m. within a reasonable hour. Now, thanks to these things, you gotta lock the cruise control on 25 unless you want one of those pesky $50 notices. It's for the kids, hon. Yeah, right. I was driving past a Burger King on one side and a gun and pawn shop on the other, so I'm sure the road was littered with wayward toddlers.
Number 2, those lock your phone bags at concerts. Whoever thought of this was obviously a sadist. See, and I thought the bands wanted everyone live streaming their show on 100 Instagram feeds. Can't do that when your phone's in a bag. I can sort of understand it for fresh stand-up comedy, but locking up phones for a Grand Funk cover band? Like, we haven't all heard the locomotion way too many times already. Number 3, exaggeratedly tall speed bumps. Isn't it interesting that there is no standard height for speed bumps? Some of them you barely have to slow down for. They're more like speed pimples, actually. Then there are the others that are so high that you see clouds at the top. Why do we need a speed bump the size of Kilimanjaro in the parking lot of the Verizon store? I guess I should just be glad that there's not a speed camera on top of it.
At any rate, Haneda is the fourth full-length album from Cruel Force. Based on the cover and the name, Haneda, I know it's a large airport terminal in Japan, but then again, all of my geographic knowledge revolves around port cities. 9 songs span a very vinyl-friendly 42 minutes, and I have to say that these 4 enjoy colorful names: Gigi Alex on drums, Slaughter on guitars, Spider on bass, and Carnivore with lead vocals. Most of the songs on the album show off an interesting hybrid style, as many of the songs start off with a Teutonic thrash style, with lickety-split drum rolls and screaming riffs in the style of Death Row, but then change the pace with something more like Uli Roth-era Scorps with lots and lots of guitar solos. Let's play a clip, Whips A-Swinging.
Savage Gods really gets the party going as it kicks off on a nimble destruction adjacent riff. I just want to say, I am keeping it so German here. I mean, yes, I know. Come at me in the comments. Anyway, drums pumping along at warp speed with this cool hard pan roll effect every few bars. The lead that Slaughter uncorks about halfway through the track is lyrical and engaging. The track Warlords is definitely of two minds about itself, kicking off with a solo that sounds like Michael Schenker headlining Madison Square Garden. It advances eventually to a breakneck thrash pace as Carnivore splits visions of Warlords in leather and Blackbirds of Death, before the pace slows significantly, making room for more seasoned guitar gymnastics from Slaughter. This song may be the defining moment of the disc due to the frequent tempo shifts that the band pulls off without a scratch.
Of course, we'd be remiss not to mention the album's epic 9+ minute title track that again kicks off with a solo straight out of Uli Roth land before cranking up the chugging insanity once again. Speed kicks down to a shuffle pace around the midpoint, and then the drums fall away altogether so that Slaughter can again mow us down with his neoclassical chops. This one's got it all. Head swaying gang vocals, hyperactive tempo changes, and of course, lots and lots of guitar solos. Love 'em or hate 'em, the one thing you have to acknowledge is this band is prepared. Get over to their Bandcamp page where you can pre-order multiple vinyl colors, a CD complete with a long box, and even a special digipack version with a gold CD. All of it is very limited press of a couple hundred copies, so don't hesitate. Stay tuned for the next album, which will be a 12-song concept disc on the evils of shitty Wi-Fi signals. Let's play a clip. Haneda.
Did you ever really think that there would be two types of giraffe weevils?
I did not. I had no idea. And I would just like to say that sometimes the bosses are the ones that are sick in the office and they never acknowledge it, even though they send home
It's only in your office.
other people who are sick.
It's only in your office.
Is that only my office?
It's only your office. That the higher ups, because I've actually been in situations where no one with the authority to authorize something is working.
This has been the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast. Special thanks to Federico from Desert Collider for appearing on the show. Snaggletooth theme courtesy of Jens Kemgren of the Firebombs. Deaf Ears theme by Tim Green of the Fucking Champs. Season 4 artwork courtesy of KC Angel. You can find him on Instagram at KC Angel Art. Deaf Ears bands include Cruel Force, Final Gasp, and Abstracted. All content 2026, the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
I suppose you'll be happy to explain to me this racist floor tile color?
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.